This incident took place in the summer of 1999 in a remote small town called Maplewood, hidden deep in the Midwest of the United States. Maplewood was the kind of place where strangers never came and locals rarely left. It had about 150 residents, most of whom knew each other by name. But during that summer, something happened that erased Maplewood from the map, literally and figuratively. Some residents went missing. Others were found dead. Their mutilated bodies were scattered across the surrounding woods and farmlands, twisted and torn apart in ways that even seasoned investigators struggled to comprehend. The horror was so overwhelming that the officers who first responded had to be rotated out within hours. Later, this tragedy was designated simply as the incident. The case was immediately classified. Those who survived were questioned under strict supervision, and after their interrogations, they were quietly relocated. Maplewood itself was sealed off, surrounded by fences and stripped from public records. Maps that once showed its roads and houses were quietly updated, as if the town had never existed. For decades, silence hung over the events. No official statements, no leaks, just whispers and rumors in nearby counties, stories of lights in the woods, screams that carried for miles, and government trucks driving in at night and never coming back out. Probably no one would have ever known the truth if not for what happened a couple of weeks ago. Someone, identity still unknown, uploaded a series of audio recordings online, recordings of the witness interrogations. The voices are distorted, trembling, sometimes breaking into tears as the survivors describe what they saw that night. The horror, the unnatural silence before the screaming started, the shadows moving against the moonlight. The files were carefully arranged. Whoever leaked them wanted the story to be told in the right order. The first record is dated June 23, 1999. The file is titled Nicholas M. His voice, though hoarse and broken, is steady enough to paint a vivid picture of Maplewood's final hours. And Nicholas isn't the only one. There are 3 interrogations in the folder, each darker than the last. Together, they form a chilling mosaic of a night when something that didn't belong, came to Maplewood. Witness interrogation transcript. Nicholas Mason, born in 1959, native resident of the small town of Maplewood. An audio recording of the interrogation is being conducted.
Nicholas, you were a witness to the events that occurred on the night of June 20th to 21st. Please tell us everything in order, what you saw. I will ask clarifying questions during the recording.
Oh, I've seen a lot in my life. I don't even know where to start.
Recall June 20th. What did you do from morning until evening? Everything that preceded this incident.
It was an ordinary day, just like all the others. Friday, the end of the work week. I work as a driver on a local farm, and I had a morning shift until noon, from 6 to 4 p.m. The evening shift is from 6 p.m. to 1:11 p.m. After finishing my shift, I went home to grab a bite and take a short nap. It was a hot day outside, around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. In the evening, we planned to go down to the river for a swim. We agreed with the guys to meet around 5 o'clock.
By guys, you mean your friends?
Yes. Mike, Fred, Peter, Vince, and our old crew. We've been hunting and fishing together since childhood. We had just come back from the river. Sat down in the gazebo in the yard, decided to play cards and chat. Everything was like usual. And then, while standing next to Fred, I suddenly saw a bright flash in the sky. Honestly, I thought it was a meteor falling. Behind it was a huge trail of fire, impossible to miss. All the neighbors ran out to watch. It's the kind of thing you see once in a lifetime, if at all. It was flying very low. I even got scared that the whole thing would crash right on us. But thank God it passed us by. That thing fell in the forest just a few miles from our town. But here's what's strange, there was no shockwave afterward. And maybe it was just me, but before the object hit the ground, it seemed to slow down. As if something braked it for a split second, and then it disappeared behind the trees. Darkness returned to the street.
Do you think someone was controlling it?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but it looked like it. The reaction of my friends was predictable. Everyone wanted to go take a look at this cosmic artifact, or rather, what was left of it. I wasn't an exception, even though night was already falling. The forest at that time is dangerous. You can run into wild animals. That's why we decided to take a hunting rifle with us. Quite a lot of men gathered. I can't tell you the exact number, but there were plenty of people eager to see the meteor. We figured out its location by the plumes of smoke that still lingered in the air. We needed to make a plan, gather everything. Fred and Mike took charge of that. They're natural leaders and excellent trackers, probably thanks to their experience with night hunting. And then the most terrifying part began. Do you want me to tell it uncensored, or should I tone it down?
Tell it as it really was.
All right. We moved into the forest as a group, walking one after another, lighting the way with flashlights. Maybe 20 minutes passed before Fred suggested we split up. We had lost our bearings, the sun had completely set, and the sky turned pitch black. The guys moved almost by touch, hoping to catch some glow from the burning rock. It sounds reckless, I know, but nobody thought about the risk at the time. It felt like some kind of expedition, and everyone saw themselves as real explorers. We thought it was fun. So we split up. Peter led a group of about 12 people and went a bit to the right. Mike, the others, and I went left, widening the search radius. And you know, strangely enough, what we were so eager to find ended up finding us instead. Suddenly, gunshots rang out nearby, one bang, then another. It wasn't us shooting, but the guys from the other group. Our first thought was, they must have run into a wild animal. We figured they'd scare it off and things would calm down. But it turned out to be much worse. Everyone who had a weapon did the same, bracing for the worst. Imagine our shock when out of the bushes stumbled Patrick Sanders, the guy from house number 30. His face was covered in blood, and his eyes shone with madness. He tried to say something, to warn us, but only incoherent mumbling came from his mouth. And then the real massacre began. I realized it right away when something grabbed one of the guys from our group and dragged him into the bushes. His scream was cut short before it even started. Chaos broke out all around, screams, gunshots. Only now it was happening right next to us, and that made it even more terrifying. To be honest, I remember those minutes only vaguely. Shadows flashed past, like very fast four-legged predators. They snatched people one after another, and dragged them instantly into the darkness. I never managed to get a clear look at them. The creatures moved incredibly fast, and almost always avoided the beam of our flashlights. And soon, something knocked me off my feet, and I rolled down. Maybe that's what saved my life. I ended up a fair distance from the slaughter. I was able to get my bearings and figure out which way to go. Beyond me there was only forest and darkness. My rifle had slipped from my hands, and the blackness around me was so thick I couldn't make out a thing. The creatures were killing people one by one, quickly and mercilessly. These were not animals we knew. They were alien.
Do you think they were aliens?
I can't give a definite answer. I lost my bearings and wandered through the woods for a long time, with only a dim flashlight and my phone. Eventually, I stumbled upon a hunter's cabin, a small shelter for the lost or weary. That's what saved my life. A 1 in a million chance.
All right, let's take a short break. Water. Drink. It will calm your nerves.
Wait. This tastes
Odd?
Second record, June 23. File Johnson D.S. Witness interrogation transcript. Darcy Johnson, born in 1980, not a native resident. An audio recording of the interrogation is being conducted.
Darcy, please tell us what you saw on the night of June 20th to 21st. I will ask clarifying questions as we go.
That night something terrible happened. I can't even explain it logically. Something attacked our village and started killing people one by one. We simply couldn't do anything. Most of the men went into the forest, and hardly anyone came back. The only option was to hide somewhere far away and hope it wouldn't find you.
Darcy?
Sorry, there are just so many emotions. It's hard to recall. We have a house in Willowbrook that came to us from my grandmother. Usually, the whole family spent summer there together, but that year I went alone. That evening, June 20, my friends and I were walking down the street when we suddenly saw a bright flash in the sky. For a moment, it was as bright as day, as if the sun had risen again. My friends, Dylan and Max, were so impressed that they decided to go into the forest along with the others. They wanted to see it up close.
So a group of people formed to search for the fallen object?
Yes, men of different ages, experienced hunters, farmers, college students visiting relatives for summer break. They left their wives at home, saying it could be dangerous, and went into the woods.
Can you describe how the attack on the village happened?
It happened later that night, around 11. We started hearing pops coming from the forest. Later, we found out our men had encountered something unknown and were fighting for their lives. At the time, nobody in the village realized how serious it was. We were waiting for the men to return. Instead, they didn't come. At first, nothing seemed wrong. Some women and elderly residents sat on benches near their homes, chatting and comforting each other. Others were walking around, enjoying the cool summer evening. And then, out of nowhere, a scream rang out. It came from Oak Street, parallel to mine. I was standing at the gate of our house, talking with my friend. We were about to say goodbye when something horrifying began. After the first scream came a second, third, fourth, from all directions as if predators were attacking the village. But these weren't ordinary animals. They were something else.
Did you see these creatures? What do they look like?
Like aliens. I spotted one while standing at the gate. At first, I didn't understand why everyone was suddenly scattering in panic. Then I saw it climb onto the roof of a neighbor's house and watch the people on the street. It was a four-legged creature resembling a cheetah with a long tail and muscular limbs. Its neck looked like a huge hump. The head turned swiftly, as if choosing whom to attack first. I didn't get a good look at its face. Panic overtook me and everyone else. I grabbed my friend's hand, and we ran inside to hide. And then the worst began. After locking the door, I looked out the window and saw the creature attack my neighbor Wesley, tearing off his head with a single strike, then pounce on his wife, Tricia. I'd known her since childhood, a close friend of my grandmother, always bringing candy. She was only a few steps from her porch, but she never made it. Then I heard scraping on the roof. Something was up there, watching, listening for the next victim. I realized these things would soon start breaking into houses and wouldn't stop until everyone was dead. Why? I don't know. Their motives remain a mystery to me. The only option was to hide and hope they wouldn't find us. Our house has an attic where we keep junk. Normally we never go there. It's dark, cold, full of bugs I'm afraid of. But that night we had no choice. The ladder was in the backyard, so my friend and I pushed a table under the hatch and climbed up one by one. Strangely enough, we made it just in time. Minutes later, one of the creatures burst into the house, tearing everything apart, but it didn't notice us and eventually left. We sat there until morning, too scared to move.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. How are you feeling now?
I'm all right, but may I ask, what will happen to our village? I heard authorities plan to restrict access.
That's true. You and the other residents encountered something you weren't supposed to see. But it's not your fault. You were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. We will deal with this. Returning will only be possible once the investigation is complete. Now drink some water.
Oh, I don't want to.
I insist. It will make you feel better. Much better.
Third record, June 24. File Smith AP. Witness interrogation transcript. Alex Smith, born in 1983, not a native resident. An audio recording of the interrogation is being conducted.
Alex, please describe in detail what you saw on the night of June 20th to 21st. I'll ask clarifying questions as we go. If you need a break or anything else, just say.
I came to visit my grandfather in the village for 2 weeks. My parents were supposed to pick me up on July 2, but something terrible happened. Our village was suddenly attacked and residents were brutally slaughtered. I survived only thanks to my grandfather. May he rest in peace.
Please accept my sincere condolences. This is a terrible tragedy that never should have happened. Let's go back to the evening. On June 20th, we had already interviewed many witnesses, all claiming they saw a falling meteorite and four-legged predators killing people for no reason. But here's the point. We have information that someone else was in your village, the one controlling these creatures and the main instigator of the incident. You know who I mean, right?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. Then you can skip the part about meteors and four-legged cheetahs. Go straight to that episode. It will be far more informative. I'm listening carefully.
When the attack happened, I was lying in my room. Grandpa George had sent me to bed while he nervously paced around the house. I even heard his groans through the closed door. Of course, there was no way to sleep. Sometimes he went outside, smoking one cigarette after another. He was clearly worried about the men who went into the forest and still hadn't returned. Soon, screams came from outside and I heard them through the window. Grandpa wasn't home and I felt uneasy, especially as the cries intensified. At that moment, I didn't yet understand what was happening, but it was clear nothing good was coming. About 5 or 7 minutes later, Grandpa George burst into the room out of breath and frightened. He grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, led me to the wardrobe, and told me to climb inside. Grandpa never answered my questions. I had to hide and he went into the hallway. After that, I didn't see anything, only heard. I tried with all my might not to cry to avoid attracting attention. Something was attacking my grandfather, killing him slowly as he tried to defend himself with an axe. But his chances were minimal and in the end it achieved its goal. After this atrocity, it wandered around the house but, finding no one, returned outside. I stayed hidden, thinking about how to survive the night. But it didn't end there. Soon I heard footsteps. Someone entered the house and began moving from room to room, drawers opening, the fridge door creaking, cabinets slamming shut. It wasn't looking for food or even for me. It was searching for something else. Eventually it found me. The wardrobe doors swung open and a tall figure stood in front of me. Its skin looked unnaturally smooth, almost like porcelain, though I wasn't sure if it was flesh or some sort of suit. The eyes were hollow, bluish, lifeless, yet burning with a strange focus. It barely glanced at me. I wasn't what it needed. The creature moved across the room, running its long fingers along the cabin wall as if it already knew the layout better than I did. Then it stopped. Without hesitation, it struck the wooden boards, tearing them apart with startling force. From inside the wall, it pulled out a small object. Dark, metallic, oddly shaped, something I had never seen before, hidden deep between the studs as though it had been there for years. The being held it carefully, almost reverently, then straightened and left. It didn't attack me, it didn't speak, it simply took what it came for. That's when I realized it wasn't stealing, it was reclaiming. That thing in the wall, it had always belonged to them.
Any water for Mr. Smith?
No, not today.